Today we're going to be tier ranking some of the most iconic WWE finishing moves. And we're going to take these finishing moves and we're going to rank them from perfection all the way down to trash. And we're going to go ahead and get started. But before I do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and don't forget that we're giving away another $50 Amazon gift card to somebody in the comments in this video. You just have to watch the video to find out how to enter. It's super easy. All right, here we go. As you can see, our tiers range from perfection down to great, acceptable, not great, and trash. Let's go ahead and get started with one that's going to create some conversation and some debate, and that is Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music. And I want to preface and clarify that I'm about to put this into perfection, but I'm only putting Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music into perfection, not the super kick as a whole. The super kick as a whole has been absolutely bastardized. It is used by everybody as some sort of little weak transitionary move. We see about 30 super kicks per match from the Usos, the Young Bucks, Kevin Owens, to the point where the super kick just doesn't have any sort of allure as a proper finishing maneuver. But Shawn Michaels' Sweet Chin Music continues to stand the test of time, even though the basis of the move, which is the super kick, has been absolutely tarnished in today's wrestling. The Sweet Chin Music is perfection. It is glorious. It is devastating. It'll kick your head off. Just gas Shelton Benjamin and Rey Mysterio. This goes right into perfection for me. Next, since I'm wearing Cena gear, let's go into one of John Cena's finishing moves, and that is the STF, or if you're a bit more of an edgy wrestling fan, a little bit older, then you might remember it as the STFU. This is John Cena's, submission finisher move, which has won him some very big matches, most memorably for me, John Cena versus Triple H at WrestleMania 22. However, this finishing move sucks. It literally looks like a basic rest hold. Cena's putting no torque on the leg, on the neck. He just kind of looks like he's resting on top of them. It looks most of the time like Cena is in more pain than the person getting the STF. So it's going to go into the trash category for me, even though it is iconic and it has won him some very, very big matches in the past. We're going to go into some aerial finishers next. We're going to do Rob Van Dam's 5-star frog splash. And in a previous lifetime, this was the most beautiful 5-star frog splash, but then a guy named Montez Ford came along and now he has the most beautiful 5-star frog splash. But we're going to be doing Rob Van Dam's 5-star frog splash. You know what? It was absolutely beautiful. The man got like 50 feet of air every time he jumped off the top turnbuckle. It's going to go into the great category for me. I do believe that it is a fantastic finisher. The way Rob Van Dam delivered it was always on point and perfect. I never saw him mess this up once, so it goes right into the great category for me. Next, we've got the Rock Bottom from, of course, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And look, if we were debating as to how iconic the finishing move was, then sure, it goes into perfection, but we're bringing in several things into the fold. Is it iconic? Yes, but it's only iconic because it belongs to The Rock, and The Rock made it iconic. That finishing moves, honestly, never did it for me. Both of his finishing moves, the Rock Bottom and the People's Elbow, just are not great finishing maneuvers to a superstar of the caliber and talent as The Rock. The Rock Bottom for me goes into the not great category. Next, you know what? Let's create some debate right now, okay? Rey Mysterio's 619. I will go to the ends of the earth and fight anyone. This is not a finishing move. I'm just going to automatically put it into trash. It is a sequence move that leads into Rey Mysterio's finishing move. His finishing move is either that splash or the West Coast pop, depending on what era you are watching. I will stand on this hill and die on it that the 619 is not a finishing move. It is a transitionary move to his actual finishing move. I've gotten into debates with my friends for hours about this, and I'm never going to convince anybody that believes that the 619 is a finishing move, just like somebody that believes that the 619 is a finishing move is never going to convince me that it is a finishing move. Okay, so for me, the 619 is not a finishing move. It goes into the trash category. Okay, come at me, comments. All right, let's move on to the Batista Bomb. I like the Batista Bomb because it is a devastating maneuver delivered by a guy that is a devastating looking dude. The one problem that I have with the Batista Bomb is that it is like 99.999% of the time, it can't come from a place of shock or surprise. It has to be properly set up. which usually leads to very rare instances of the move coming, quote, from out of nowhere. Usually when somebody jumps from the top turnbuckle and he catches them. But traditionally, the move leads to, in my opinion, less exciting finishes because you're kind of just seeing the finishing move get set up and whatnot. So the Batista Bomb goes into acceptable for me. I said a lot of bad things about it there, but I don't think that it's a bad finishing move. Definitely, it's a great fit for somebody like Batista. So the Batista Bomb goes into acceptable for me. Next, let's go into the World's Strongest Slam. I'm inclined to put the World's Strongest Slam right beside the Batista Bomb for the same reasons. If this was delivered by anybody else that wasn't Mark Henry, this would be such a weak looking move. But because it's delivered by Mark Henry, the World's Strongest Slam does go into acceptable for me because it is believable that a guy that strong, that big, hitting you with that move will take you out. And similar to the Batista Bomb, it's very rare that it comes out of nowhere or a surprise. He did get much better at it later in his career, delivering it just like so quickly and out of nowhere. Still, I'm putting it into the acceptable category. Let's go into another aerial maneuver from the most popular man in 2008 who isn't named Barack Obama. That would be Jeff Hardy and Jeff Hardy's Swanton Bomb. I put Jeff Hardy's Swanton Bomb like right beside Rob Van Dam's 5-star Frog Splash. If anything, it's probably better than Rob Van Dam's 5-star Frog Splash, if I'm being honest, just because we've seen the Swanton Bomb get hit in some of the most extreme moments in wrestling history. I mean, how many times have we seen Jeff Hardy jump off a ladder through 5 tables to hit this thing, just while also hitting it in the ring? And it's always a combination of it looking beautiful, majestic, but also it being so deadly and destructive. So the Swanton Bomb for me goes into the great category. Next, you know what? It's time for something to go into perfection, right? Is anyone going to argue that the RKO is actually the perfect finishing move? I don't think anyone in the comments would come at me and tell me that the RKO is not a perfected finishing move, that it isn't pure class and perfection. The RKO can come out of nowhere, can be set up, it can get hit on somebody who's big, small, medium size. It's so versatile. Unfortunately, I think it's the reason why Randy Orton might need to retire because of how many times he lands on his freaking back doing the darn thing. But the move itself, my goodness, if we were doing a Hall of Fame of finishing moves, this thing is a first ballot Hall of Famer. The RKO goes into perfection. Next, let's look at the Hulk Hogan Atomic Leg Drop. It's iconic, obviously, because it's Hulk Hogan. But would anybody here argue that this isn't a trash finishing move? It looks like, to me, they gave this guy a move that was easy to do because he couldn't do anything very exciting or complex. Now, mind you, the Hulkster made this exciting because he is the Hulkster and he could have any crowd eating out of the palm of his hand, but the move sucks. Like, objectively, it's just a leg drop, just like, the people's elbow is just an elbow. Objectively, like, it's just not a good finishing move. Admittedly, Hulk Hogan has made this iconic and part of wrestling lore, but it's not going to convince me to put this anywhere aside from just the trash category. Next, let's go into another John Cena move. Let's go into the Attitude Adjustment. And I think the Attitude Adjustment for me, and look, it's tough for me to criticize Cena because I love Cena. I'm wearing all of his gear. I tend to wear something Cena related in all my videos, but it's kind of like the rock bottom. Like, it's just such a basic fireman's carry into a slam. Like, there's nothing of substance there that just screams, oh, this is so unique to John Cena. So to me, it goes into the not great category, as iconic as it is, as legendary as it's become in the giant matches that it's helped John Cena win. I will say Cena got better in his career just hitting this thing out of nowhere. So kudos to him, but all in all, the Attitude Adjustment, the FU, whatever you want to call it, goes into the not great category for me. Next, let's go into another submission finishing move. We already had the STF, but now let's go to one that is perfection. the Bret Hart sharpshooter. That thing looks like it hurts. It looks so cinched in, so locked in. It's got so much torque. No wrestler has been able to replicate the way that Bret Hart delivered that sharpshooter. So for me, as a submission finishing move, that thing is absolutely perfect. It goes into perfection. Next, let's go into the walls of Jericho. And, you know, if we were talking maybe like 10 years ago, I would have maybe put the walls of Jericho a little bit higher. But today in AEW, the walls of Jericho is basically just a rest hold to go into commercial break. No one believes that Chris Jericho is going to win a match whenever he puts in the walls of Jericho. But, you know, the current state of the walls of Jericho is not going to deter me from just putting this into acceptable. Again, in 10 years ago, I would have put this in great, but, you know, it's been diluted recently by its use in AEW. Let's go into the People's Elbow. Look, I'm just going to put the People's Elbow right beside the Atomic Leg Drop. It's a move that was made as a meme to apparently make the Undertaker break character and make him laugh. But The Rock does make it exciting. It does get the crowd up and popping. But objectively, like, if there are no fans in the stands, this move is silly and stupid. So it goes right beside the Atomic Leg Drop, honestly, because unlike Hulk Hogan, The Rock can do so much more. I really believe that the leg drop was given to Hogan because he couldn't do anything else. But The Rock, he could have had something so much better. So it goes into the trash category for me. Next, we have the Pedigree. And the Pedigree, dude, because a lot of these finishers that I'm ranking here are like some of the most iconic finishers, like it's no surprise that I'm having a lot into the perfection category, but the Pedigree is also perfect. Even though it got nerfed, you know, into its career when he started letting go of the arms as he dropped them because that was really dangerous to have them fully hooked in. The Pedigree is just a thing of beauty. And I want to absolutely make myself clear. I'm only talking about Triple H's pedigree. I don't like Cody Rhodes' pedigree. I don't like Seth Rollins' pedigree. I don't like that they just use that move as a signature move as opposed to it being a finishing move that should be winning you championships. So Triple H's pedigree for me goes into perfection. Now let's go into, oh my goodness, I think we're just back-to-back perfections. JBL's Clothesline from Hell. Look, I'm going to put this into perfection. What's funny is that I just recently berated the Atomic Leg Drop and the elbow for being basic moves like an elbow drop and a leg drop. And yet here I am putting the Clothesline from Hell, just a clothesline, into perfection. But just watch a compilation of Clothesline from Hells and come back to this video and you'll agree with me that this thing is an absolute masterpiece and belongs in perfection, because I think we have literally witnessed him murder dozens of WWE superstars with the Clothesline from Hell. So the Clothesline from Hell, just how brutal it is, how it can come out of absolutely, it can be set up or come out of nowhere. The delivery from JBL is also legendary and iconic. The Clothesline from Hell, I don't think can ever be replicated as a proper finishing move unless you're a dude that just has the exact same build and intensity and speed like JBL. But JBL's Clothesline from Hell goes into perfection for me. Next, we have Goldberg's Spear. Now, of course, we know that there's a ton of spears out there. Roman Reigns' spear, Edge's spear. I'm not going to be rating the spear in general. I'm going to be rating Goldberg's spear. And Goldberg, aside from like maybe Rhino and nowadays Braun Breaker, had the best spear in the game. Especially at his time, he had the best spear in the game. His spear goes into the great category. This thing is ooh, my goodness, it's got so much oomph. You know, you might even make a debate that it's not even his finisher because it usually transitions into the jackknife, but we've seen him win lots of matches from just hitting the spear. So I will accept it as a proper finisher. And if it is a proper finisher, then I'm putting this bad boy into the great category. Next, we have, let's stick with Goldberg. Let's stick with Goldberg and do the jackhammer. The jackhammer, I think, is objectively worse than the spear. I think Goldberg should have just stuck with the spear, honestly. The jackhammer is just a fancy vertical suplex. Like really, like if you just sit down and break it into what it is just a fancy vertical suplex, but it's going to go into acceptable because it's cool, especially when he holds them up there for 5+ seconds. And it doesn't matter whether it's a small dude or a giant dude, unless your name is the Undertaker, he was hitting this thing on you and it was always clean and beautiful, even though he started botching it a lot towards the end of his career. But the jackhammer, Goldberg's jackhammer, goes into the acceptable category. Next, I'm going to tell you how to win a $50 Amazon gift card. All you have to do, since you made it all the way to this part of the video, is leave a like on the video. We do check if you've liked it. Once we reach out to you, we ask you to send us a screenshot, but also you have to leave a comment, and this comment has to be about money. So just leave any sort of comment about money, coins, whatever it might be. That's how we're able to distinguish a comment from somebody who made it this far in the video versus somebody who didn't, and that's how we're able to enter you into the draw versus not putting you in the draw. So that's how it is. Like the video, leave a comment about money. That's it. That's all she wrote. Let's keep going. Let's go into the Kurt Angle ankle lock. I don't think that it hits the same level of perfection as the iconic sharpshooter, but the ankle lock, dude, especially like Perk Angle days, those late days in his WWE career and TNA, like it was a thing of beauty. I'm gonna put this into the great category. I love especially when he gets down onto the mat and cinches it in completely. It is such a great, fantastic finishing move. It's going to go into the great category for me. I think the one reason why I have the sharpshooter into perfection and not the ankle lock is because the sharpshooter was undeniably Bret Hart's basically only finisher. Meanwhile, the Kurt Angle also has the angle slam as well. But the ankle lock does go into the great category for me. Next, we have the F5. And the F5 for me also goes into the great category. It doesn't quite reach perfection for me. It's better than Cena's attitude adjustment in terms of it at least having some creativity from the fireman's carry into what it becomes. Brock Lesnar is the perfect person to deliver this move. It doesn't matter, again, whether you're a small, skinny dude or somebody like the Big Show. Brock Lesnar is capable of hitting this thing regardless of how big you are, and he's shown that all the way from his start of the career in 2002 all the way to still today, 20 plus years later. He's still hitting this thing, and it is still a thing of beauty. The F5 goes into the great category for me. Next, we've got Bobby Lashley's Hurt Lock. Now, I'm a little surprised to see this here compared to some of the other finishing moves that are here, but the Hurt Lock, when Lashley does it, it doesn't really have the same oomph compared to when somebody like Chris Masters used to cinch it in. So I'm going to put Bobby Lashley's Hurt Lock into the not great category. I honestly prefer it when he hits the spear, if I'm being honest with you, or when he used to have the Dominator. I think that's what it was called. All right, let's move on to the Stone Cold Stunner. And Loki Lou, another move right into the perfection category. And another move that Kevin Owens has, honestly, I love Kevin Owens, but has objectively made worse. He's done it to the Swanton bomb, and now he's done it to the Stunner. Kevin Owens should just go back to the pop-up powerbomb, in my opinion. Anyways, I digress. But Stone Cold, dude, this thing is a thing of beauty. He's capable of setting this up or hitting this thing out of nowhere. And I don't know, man, there's just a level of swag that exists when Stone Cold is hitting this maneuver that no one's able to replicate it. When Kevin Owens does it, it looks boring. When Stone Cold does it, it looks cool. It looks badass, and it looks like it's gonna take off your chin. So Stone Cold Stunner is going into the perfection category. I don't know why this is even here. We have Brock Lesnar's Kimura lock. It is a scary maneuver to see cinched in the WWE, and you know it when it's Brock Lesnar doing it, there is a new level of legitimacy that comes behind it. But it's kind of similar to the Hurt Lock for me. I'm going to put this into the not great category. Next, we have Drew McIntyre's Claymore. And the story of how the Claymore came to be, how it's basically an accident, how he was just going for a big boot, but then his pants were going to rip, so he just lifted his other leg and it turned into the Claymore, is hilarious. The Claymore is a fantastic finishing move. It goes right into the great category for me. The way Drew McIntyre hits this thing, it just feels like he's decapitating people. And I love the fact that it can come out of nowhere, or it can be set up in the corner with the 1, 2, 3, boom. But it goes into the great category for me. Next, let's put The Undertaker's Last Ride. For a while, this was his main finisher, especially when he was the American Badass. It's one of like the scariest moves to probably take as a wrestler, because the Undertaker's already like 6'8", and then he lifts you up in the air another like 6 feet. So now you're dropping from like what feels like 9 feet up in the air. I know that math is completely off. But I personally really like the Last Ride. Some people didn't love it. Some people thought that it was a significant downgrade from the Tombstone Pile Driver. So I'm going to put the Last Ride into the great category. Some people have it lower. I don't think people have it in perfection. I don't know. I might be wrong. But most people that I talk to believe that it's objectively much worse than the Tombstone Pile Driver. But I think it's a really great move. So it goes into the great category for me. Next, we have Booker T's scissors kick. And I like the scissors kick. I prefer the scissors kick over the bookend, because at the very least, it's a unique maneuver. The bookend is just basically another version of the rock bottom or uranagi. But I'm going to put Booker T's scissors kick into the acceptable category. I like it as a finishing move. I really do. Next, we've got Kane's choke slam. And Kane's choke slam, oh man, it's like a tale of two halves. Like, I feel like early on in his career, this thing was absolutely devastating and deadly. To me, I'm going to put the Kane's choke slam into the acceptable category, because it just got like weaker and weaker as his career progressed. Obviously, that's not his fault. That's Father Time. But I'm going to put it into the acceptable category, because half of the time people didn't get enough air to make it look like truly, genuinely devastating. So I'm putting it into the acceptable category. Next, we have Ric Flair's figure 4 leg lock. This is an interesting one for me, as you know, like the type of fan that I am, because I'm 30. So I'm a 1993 baby, and I started watching wrestling in 2001. So I've seen very few people tap out to the figure 4 leg lock. Like, every time I've seen it get cinched in by Ric Flair or by anybody that's tried to replicate the figure 4 leg lock, it always gets reversed and turned around. So I've like very rarely have seen the figure 4 leg lock win anything. I know, obviously, that there's a history behind this move, and that it's one of the moves that helped him reach, you know, the plateau of the 16 world championships or more, if you ask Ric Flair. But I never really got behind the move, because I wasn't there for the peak of its time, and I very rarely ever got to see it be a winning maneuver. That being said, like, I just because I wasn't there doesn't mean I'm going to knock it down pegs. I just want you to know where my brain is at, because I'm going to put this in perfection, not because, again, of what I've witnessed, but because I'm a wrestling historian. I've gone back and I've seen what he's done with this move, but I want to be perfectly clear, like, what generation of wrestling I'm in, and that I don't connect immediately with the figure 4 leg lock. Like, to me, the move is just basically a joke at this point. Anytime somebody cinches the figure 4 leg lock, unless your name is Charlotte, like, and even Charlotte, like, she's never tapped out anybody to just the figure 4 leg lock. It always has to become the figure 8. So I just want you to know where my thought and my brain is at. But I'm still going to put it into perfection, because I know what this move has done and what it means to professional wrestling. So it's going to go into the perfection category. Next, we have the Twist of Fate. The Twist of Fate is like Jeff Hardy's redheaded stepson finishing move. Like, everyone wants to see the Swanton. No one wants to see him win with the Twist of Fate. Okay, everyone wants to see him win with the Swanton. All right, so to me, it's just gonna go into the not great category. Like, it's a worse version than the RKO. Like, it's just a cutter. It really is. It's just a cutter. So it's just going to go into the not great category for me, because anytime I had Jeff Hardy on the screen, I just wanted to see him hit the Swanton. Okay. And next we have the Undertaker's Tombstone Pile Driver. And this one also goes into perfection. It's one of those moves where, like, if wrestling is real, like, that's the one move I believe would probably actually kill people. Obviously, it being delivered by the Undertaker, what this move has done, not just for Undertaker's career, but also, WrestleMania legacies and archival WWE footage. You're going to see this move until the end of time, when aliens invade planet Earth and they go into WWE headquarters and find footage of wrestling from the 90s, 2000s, 2010s. They're going to see the Tombstone Pile Driver. So I'm going to put this into perfection. And that's it, fellas. That's my list. Don't forget to like the video and get out of here.